Looks like Dr. Phil is up to his old tricks again. But was this episode with that girl Treasure actually based on a movie? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome to my channel, K Fits My Life. So I'm sure by now everyone has seen the episode of Dr. Phil with the girl Treasure, the black girl who thinks she's white. It's a pretty crazy episode, and it's actually the second episode of Dr. Phil that I've talked about on my channel. I'll put a link up here to the first episode of his that I talked about. But I'm not going to play the entire video. I'm sure everyone has seen it by now, but I will play a few little clips of what this girl said and what she thinks about herself and other black people.
People try to tell me I'm an African American, but that's not true. African Americans are loud, rude, obnoxious, and just altogether fat and ugly.
If you ask me, my 16-year-old daughter has a very out-of-control identity crisis. She truly believes she's white. When Treasure was 5 years old, I've noticed Treasure was having issues with her race. She wouldn't play with the black children. Treasure would mangle or destroy her black dolls. She would cut their heads off, pull off their arms. She would pretend that they were the white doll's slaves.
My mom bought me beautiful white dolls instead of buying me the ugly, big-lipped black doll.
I felt mortified. I was a single mom trying to support a family. We couldn't afford to stay in our beautiful home. We moved from a mostly white, affluent neighborhood to the city, which was mostly African American.
From the suburbs to the hood. I was not anything like other black people. They were all hood rats and they were all ghetto. They all act like monkeys.
Her school was predominantly African American. She started to say very racist things in public. Like, I hate black people's hair, they're dirty. She would call them the N-word.
It made me feel good to put down an African American person because it helps them stay in their place. All the African American kids that I was around were all ugly looking and losers. They're all gorillas.
My daughter is a racist against her own race.
Some crazy stuff, right? So now that it has come out by many that this episode was in fact a farce, it kind of plays on what I said in my first review about Dr. Phil, about him not really being a person that is legitimately trying to help people. Now, what I gathered from this episode when I watched it, I thought about something. I said, this reminds me of something that I've seen before. And then I remembered what it was. So I'm not sure if many of you guys have seen this movie, but I actually believe that this video or this episode was inspired by an old movie. Now, in 1959, there was a movie made called Imitation of Life. The movie was about a black woman who had a daughter, and the daughter looked white. And you can see them here in this picture. The dark-skinned woman, of course, is the mother, and the woman that looks white is her daughter. Now, in real life, I'm sure she was a white woman, but in the confines of the movie, she was actually black. So she would constantly try to pass herself off as a white woman. So here's a little clip of what she would say about how she was, or how she felt she was in the movie.
I'm white. White. White!
Now, what does that remind you of? Now, throughout this movie, this young lady, even from a very young age, was trying to pass herself off as a white girl. She was in school, and she didn't tell the kids or the teachers that her mother was black or that she was black. She tried to pretend as if she was white. And her mother comes up to the school and goes to her classroom, and the teacher says, "Well, I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't have any little colored girls in our classroom." And the mother says, "No, that's my daughter right there. That's my baby, Sarah Jane, come here." So she goes over to Sarah Jane, who's the little girl's name, of course, and the little girl runs out of the classroom. She's embarrassed. She's like, why do you have to be my mother? Why does everybody have to know? They didn't ask me, so I didn't tell them. So as the girl gets older, she still continues to do the same thing. She tries to pass herself off as a white woman, even though she's really a black woman. So eventually the girl's mother just gets tired and old and sick from chasing after the girl, trying to convince her that who you are is who you are, and you can't change that, and you should be proud of who you are. The little girl just doesn't want to hear it until her mother finally dies, and then she's really sorry for everything that she put her mother through. Now, again, since this Dr. Phil episode has come out to have been a farce, I wonder if Dr. Phil has gotten to the point in his career where he's no longer able to come up with legitimate stories. So maybe his staff is going and saying, hey, maybe we can do something with this movie. It's going to be far less believable if the girl that we interview looks like a white woman. But what if we found a black girl that's doing the exact same thing as this white girl in this movie, and she really believes that she's white? That would probably make for some great ratings, right? So I really think that this episode has been proven, I think, to be a farce, but I think that it really did come from this movie because the similarities are just so striking. You really can't deny that it's almost the exact same story. Also, with today's climate, with so many things with race going on, I feel like what better way for Dr. Phil to garner more ratings than to show, hey, I am so about black people. Black people, this black girl is wrong. I don't know why she feels that way, but I love black people. And let's get behind each other. It feels so forced. It feels so phony. Now, he even went on the Breakfast Club and talked to everyone there on that radio show. He actually went to MTV and talked to them about this episode. Everyone is talking to him about this episode. So he's getting a lot of popularity off of this episode. So if it really is a farce, which, as I said in the video I made about him originally, the woman I interviewed said she gave him and the staff all this information to research, and they really weren't interested in researching any information, even though he did say in the interviews that he and his staff research information to try to find out as much about what these people are talking about as possible. He didn't do any of that research with the woman I interviewed on my channel. I'll put a link to that interview up here. He didn't do any of that. He was just in a quest for ratings. And I feel he's doing the same thing in this instance. I don't think this was something that was a legitimate concern. I think it was a quest for ratings. I know a lot of people are going to say something like, this is Dr. Phil's show. It's a show. It's entertainment. But here's the danger, and here's why I did the interview I did before. There are millions of people who watch stuff like this. Now, the average person, there are a lot of people in America who are very smart and very intelligent and very well informed and try to improve themselves and try to think openly. But there are also millions of people in America who are very ignorant. And when you have someone that has a platform as large as Dr. Phil does, and he's broadcasting ignorance or an ignorant statement or an ignorant show to millions of ignorant people, all that's going to do is aid in the spread of ignorance amongst a lot of people. So that's why I have an issue with someone who purports to be a doctor, but is really either spreading false information, doing things that he think helps people but has been shown clinically to not really help people, or coming up with stories that is race baiting in order to get ratings, which is exactly what I think he was doing in this episode. I feel Dr. Phil was race baiting for ratings, and I think that is a despicable thing to do. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that, one, Dr. Phil was race baiting for ratings? Do you think, two, that this episode was based on this movie? I really do. I really think that this episode was based on this movie. But tell me what you think down in the comments below. Guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel. Please please like, share, and subscribe, and click the bell so you can see when I upload new content. And that's it, guys. I'll see you all in the next one. All right. Peace.